Namaste and welcome to our Bhagavad Gita class in Kirtan, Bhagavad Gita class with Mahabhagavatas, and I'm Radhi Shantasi. And we're ready to roll on another Kirtan. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Siddha Swarupananda Paramahamsayati Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Awesome.
Oh, glad you liked it.
Left my notes on the table.
Oh, okay.
Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parirajagasatara Sarishishima Jagakuru Siddhasarupananda Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Now the ones at the other end. Paramahansa Parivrajagasattara Shishimad Jagakuru Siddhasarupananda Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajagasattara Sata Shishimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhatta Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Nitai Goswal Mission Ki Jai. Navadvita Dhamma Ki Jai. Shishi Radha Krishna Go Gopina Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Vrindavan Ki Jai. Mathura Dham Ki Jai. Mayapur Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. All glories to Samal devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to Samal devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Gaura Premanandi. Hare Hare Bol. Amagina Timarandasya Ganagana Salakaya Chaksurun Militanyena Tajmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stavpitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swa Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajavam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagapate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhi Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakapa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha Patitanan Pavenbhyo Vaishnavbhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Siddhaswarupananda Paramahansa Niti Namine Namo Siddhaswarupananda Paramahansa Namine Gaurakaruna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Prastayate. So before speaking, first I offer my respectful obeisances under the lotus feet of my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, who is very dear to Lord Krishna, having taken shelter at his lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada is the mercy manifestation of Lord Chaitanya, Gaura Karuna Swarupaya, and very dear to Radha and Krishna, Radha Krishna Prastayate. And offer my respects to all of the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who are like wish-fulfilling trees, able to fulfill all the desires of the people of this world, and are very merciful and compassionate upon them. Hare Krishna, Hare Bol. So my voice is still a bit weak, so I'm having to kind of talk a little bit quietly. Hopefully you can all hear though. Actually, the end of a month is usually a bit of a marathon for me because all the yoga Kirtan Hawaii yoga wisdom classes all fall very close together at the end of the month. So I gave a class on Friday night and one on Sunday night, now one tonight and one tomorrow night. So hopefully my voice will make it through. We've been discussing Bhagavad Gita, and we're up to chapter 2, which is like many ways, a bit of a summary of, or a taste or a preview of what's to come in many of the later chapters. And it's also in the initial part of chapter 2, it's the part that we're up to, starting from text 11. It's like the spiritual ABCs, like the introduction to the basic building blocks of spiritual life, or the self-realization. And so for the last several weeks we've been discussing text 11 to text 13. And this is, Krishna has established in these verses that the self is different from the body. In text 11 he explained to Arjuna that, while speaking learned words, you're lamenting for that which is not worthy of grief, that the wise, the pandits, not unwise people like you, lament neither for the living nor the dead. So Arjuna is full of lamentation and regret and great concern and anxiety about what he's about to do. He's about to kill a whole bunch of people, huge number of people, and he's lamenting about it because it includes his very dear loved ones, Bhishma Dev and Drona Acharya and his cousin brothers. Krishna then goes on to explain that never was there a time that neither I nor you nor all the kings here, so neither Krishna himself, the Paramatma, the super soul, the supreme soul, nor the Jivatmas, Arjuna and all the kings, everyone else assembled there. Never was there a time when we did not exist, and never will there be a time in the future when we don't exist. So in all phases of time, in the past, and for the entire past, there's an eternal time, there's no beginning. But so from the beginning, but there actually is no beginning, but anyway, just for the sake of language, we have to use words like this. So from the beginning, and now in the present, and into the future, we shall always exist as individuals, always. Nitya, always existing as an individual spiritual spark of Krishna, coming from Krishna. So Krishna is the Supreme Spirit, and we are the tiny jivatmas, the living entities, parts and parcels of Krishna, the tatashta shakti, the marginal potency of the Supreme Lord. And we can come under his internal yogamaya potency, in which case we reside in the spiritual world with Krishna. Or we may come under his mahamaya, his external potency, in which case we reside in this material world. So whether residing in this material world or within the spiritual world, nonetheless, we're always eternally individual. This verse is text 12 is a very important verse in establishing that, or in defeating the Buddhist and Mayavadi philosophies that at liberation that we cease to either the Buddhists cease to exist altogether, or the Mayavadis that we become God and become one. And then in the 14th verse, Krishna then explains how we can see, even in this body, that we're passing from childhood to youth to old age, Kaumaram, Yavanam, Jara, and that at death, similarly, we pass to another body, and that the dhira, or the sober person, is not bewildered by such a change. So Krishna has established just in these 3 verses such an immense amount of spiritual knowledge, or jnana, or sankhya, the distinction between the body and the soul. So this is like the very sort of important, basic building blocks. Establishing that we're not the body, that we're spiritual in essence, and that we are always eternally existing as individuals. And this is a very important point, as it establishes the basis of bhakti yoga that Krishna later describes and points out as the highest path of yoga. It's based on individuality. Yoga means union, but it's not as the Mayavadis see it, as merging and losing one's individual identity. No, it is union with Krishna through the process of bhakti yoga, of love, that we enter into a loving relationship with Krishna, where our will is subverted with that of the beloved. And then Krishna then gives a basic explanation of the process of reincarnation, how it's just the same as passing through different stages of life in this body, and similarly at the end of this body, when it grows old and useless, no longer able to function, then we leave it behind and take on another body. And so this passage through this body, or different phases of this body, and passage onto another body at the time of death of this body, this is going on for everyone, for all time. So there's nothing to lament about it. It's just part of the natural order of things. So the wise person or the sober person is not bewildered by this. So Krishna has built the basic building blocks, and then from here, then Krishna moves into a sequence of another 3 verses, which could be sort of summarized under a title of, tolerate the impermanent. So there's the establishment that we're not the body, and then now Krishna deals with equanimity or tolerance of dealing with the ever-changing situation in this world, the happiness and distress that comes and goes. So Arjuna is in great distress. He's a huge amount of distress about what he's about to do and how he doesn't want to do it. And so Krishna teaches the importance of being equal in happiness and distress. So in these verses, text 14, so it's text 14, 15 and 16 is the sequence of verses that we'll be discussing for the next few weeks. So in 2:14, Krishna says, O son of Kuntī, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress, and their disappearance in due course, are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O scion of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. O best among men, Arjuna, Purusha Rishabha, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress, and is steady in both, is certainly eligible for liberation. Those who are seers of the truth have concluded that of the non-existent, the material body, there is no endurance, and of the eternal, the soul, there is no change. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both. So it's a wonderful sequence of verses, and if we can actually understand them and realize them and then absorb them into our very consciousness and being, then we can essentially sail through life with being equal in happiness and distress. So this concept of being equal in happiness and distress, or equanimity. So Krishna, I went through Bhagavad Gita this morning because I was interested just in how many times Krishna raises this concept of being equal in happiness and distress and being in a state of equanimity. And it was actually like maybe 24 times where Krishna raises this idea of being equal. And one place in particular, at the end of chapter 12, where Krishna describes who is very dear to him. And he says here several times, so it's beginning in chapter 12 is only quite a short chapter, just like 19 verses. And Krishna describes that who is very dear to him, who is very priya. Yo mad bhakta same priyaha, such a devotee of mine is very dear to me. So he explains here, one who is equal in both happiness and distress, who is tolerant. So it's like he's saying that such a devotee of mine is very dear to me. And then in this section he doesn't say it just once. Then in the next verse, 12:15, he again says, and who is not disturbed by anyone, who is equipoised in happiness and distress. That such a person is very dear to me. Then in text 17, one who neither rejoices nor grieves, who neither laments nor desires. Such a devotee is very dear to me. Then in 12:18 and 19, one who is equal to friends and enemies, who is equipoised in honor and dishonor, heat and cold, happiness and distress, fame and infamy. Such a person is very dear to me. So we can see that this idea of equanimity and being equal in happiness and distress, being tolerant, titikshva, that this is a very important concept that Krishna is teaching here, and he repeats it throughout Bhagavad Gita many times. And so, I was thinking about this, tolerance and patience and humility. They're all very related concepts, So, in our spiritual life, we need to be very patient. We shouldn't become impatient. Oh, I'm waiting for the bliss, and where is the spiritual bliss? I'm not experiencing it. I'm impatient for it. But impatient in the sense of like, well, if I don't get what I want, I'm going to get angry and give up or something. So, of course, there's nothing wrong with the desire to experience spiritual happiness, and in fact, we should have that desire to propel us forward. But we should nonetheless be always patient, knowing that Krishna is in control, and he will fulfill our desires in the fullness of time at the appropriate time. And we should be tolerant. Like in Lord Chaitanya's third prayer, Trina dapi suni sheno taro riva sahishnena. So one should feel lower than the straw in the street. Trina dapi suni sheno. The grass is the straw in the street is like it's as low as you can go. Everybody walks on it. Animals urinate on it. And defecate upon it. It's as low as you can go. And then be more tolerant. Taro riva sahishnuna. Be more tolerant than a tree. So the tree stands out in the elements 24/7 times 365 days times however many years it lives. And it tolerates people coming along, chopping it down with an axe, stripping its bark or stealing its fruits. And actually, but the tree, it's giving all the time. It's giving shade. It's giving shelter. It's giving fruits. So again, this, and so in this third verse of Lord Chaitanya's, of course, he's saying that if we have this consciousness of feeling lower than the straw in the street and more tolerant than a tree, that this is the actual, and of course, never desiring any respect and being devoid of all sense of false prestige, then in this state of mind, we can chant the holy name constantly. So again, Lord Chaitanya is pointing out the importance of tolerance. Of course, Srila Prabhupada has many times spoken about the necessity of humility and tolerance in the development of our spiritual life. And Krishna is stressing this concept so many times throughout Bhagavad Gita, as I mentioned, almost 24, 25 times. So anyway, so the verse that we're studying is text 14. So matra spasas tu konteya sitoshna sugaduka daha agama paino anichas tams tatikshasva Bharata. O son of Kuntī, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress, and their disappearance in due course, are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O scion of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. So, Sridhar Swami, the Sri Vaishnava commentator on Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, he makes the point that after Krishna's said the previous verses, saying, that Arjuna, the wise person doesn't lament for the living nor the dead, and that the dhira or the sober person is not bewildered by the change of bodies, either in this life or at the end of life. So he suggests that, Arjuna could counter Krishna, these points that Krishna has made, by saying that he's not grieving for those who have died or are living, so he's not grieving for the living or the dead, but he's actually grieving for himself, who would be miserable and forlorn by their loss. So Krishna then, essentially tells him, no, you need to tolerate this. The non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress comes and goes like the winter and summer season. One must learn to tolerate them. They just arise from sense perception. One must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. So Sridhar Swami says that this Arjuna's doubt here or concern is being perfectly answered by the Supreme Lord in this verse. And Keshava Kashmiri, he, in his commentary, he says, although the delusion of death is not appropriate regarding the misconception of the soul's destruction, when it is in fact eternal and immortal. So in other words, we shouldn't be in the delusion or the misconception that the soul is destroyed when the body dies, because the soul is in fact eternal and immortal. Still, it could be submitted that loss of life would result in great unhappiness when preceptors, friends, and relatives are slain in battle, departing their physical bodies, and from this the delusion that they are dead may arise. So in other words, Arjuna is raising the doubt that, well, the loss of life is going to result in great unhappiness. I'm going to become very unhappy when my preceptors and my military teacher and my friends and relatives are slain in this battle. So naturally I'm going to lament. But to dispel this doubt, Lord Krishna replies that sensory perception, or the contact between the senses and their objects, give rise to feelings of heat and cold, pleasure and pain. If they are soft and sweet, they are pleasing, but if they are bitter and harsh, they are unpleasant. These things are all temporary. They are not eternal like the soul, but of a fleeting, impermanent nature, which comes and goes. Therefore one should just tolerate them with discrimination, patience, and fortitude, for they will disappear in due course of time. So, we are eternal. We are nitya, eternal. We're eternal beings, atma. Yet, we experience through our mind and senses ever-changing conditions of this temporary world. So from the moment, of course, while we sleep, we're more or less unconscious, not really aware of anything. But from the moment we wake until the moment we sleep again, it's a constant experience of sensory perceptions, and of some of the sensory perceptions we have are very pleasant. Perhaps it's a lovely day, so, this feels very nice, the temperature's just right, not too hot, not too cold, and I've had something nice to eat, so I'm feeling satisfied, or I'm watching something that's very pleasant, or I'm having a nice conversation with a friend or a family member. And so these are all very pleasant experiences. So I become happy, Or it can be, no, it's very cold today. Oh, and there's a cold biting wind. I've got to put on my jacket, but my jacket's not strong enough and the wind is still getting through it. Or it's raining and I don't have adequate shelter. So constantly we're just our mind is basically connected to our senses, and through our senses, the sense of sight and hearing and smell and touch and taste, we're constantly bringing in experiences. These are coming into our minds, and some of them we go, oh, that's nice, and no, this one's not nice. But they're flickering. Flickering is the word. They're temporary and flickering. They come and go. They're impermanent. But you, the soul, are eternal and permanent. So and you actually have nothing to do with these temporary, flickering, sensual experiences. They're false and illusory. Even if they're pleasant, they don't actually satisfy you, the soul. And you have nothing to do with this gross physical body. It's like you're kind of like a passenger in there, temporarily somehow or other, encased in this lump of flesh and blood and stool and urine and so on and so forth. So it's ever-changing conditions in this material world. So practicing patience or tolerance in the appearance and disappearance of the pleasures and pains of life and the happiness and distress they bring, we will become eligible for liberation and come to see the truth. So those who are unaware and are absorbed in bodily identity and sense perceptions, those who are unaware, in other words, those who are unaware of their spiritual identity as eternal spirit soul, and who are just absorbed, they're just absorbed in their bodily identity and sense perceptions. But the person who is liberated from the bodily concept of life and is awake in this conscious world, we're always in balance and undisturbed in the face of happiness and distress. So I've been listening over the last few days, or last week actually, but a very nice lecture by Srila Prabhupada, where he was speaking at quite length about this concept of happiness and distress. And he was making the point that it's where do we sit, so he was speaking and saying, well, what are you doing right now? And the audience of his students and disciples were sitting. So he points out where you're sitting, and while you're sitting, you're experiencing not different things through your senses. Some are pleasant, some are unpleasant. And so the analogy he was making is that we should sit with Krishna. And so as the happiness and distress comes and goes, it doesn't affect us, because actually we're just sitting with Krishna. Krishna is our life. Krishna is our master. Krishna is our sole maintainer and protector. And so we are with Krishna, and then we won't be disturbed by these temporary passing sense perceptions and happiness and distress as they come and go. We won't become completely absorbed in them as if they are us. Right? So many people, where they live in their minds, and that what they're thinking or feeling is the most important thing there is in the world. Whereas if we sit with Krishna, then our relationship with Krishna is the most important thing. And these temporary sensual experiences will be of no consequence to us. We'll see them for what they are. They're just flickering, impermanent sensations arising from the gross physical body's senses and perceptions. So the soul. So in the previous verses, Krishna's been talking about the gross physical body, right? That the body, it changes, it dies. You shouldn't be bewildered by that. Don't be concerned by that. So now Krishna is changing the conversation from being about the gross physical body. Now he's talking about the subtle material body, the mind, and how the mind changes. So the body changes, the gross physical body changes over longer periods of time, but the subtle body is constantly changing. And so we have various fluctuating states of mind. We go through happiness and distress, and different states of agitation or anxiety, so on. So, and we live in this world of our mental perceptions, and we create like a whole world. It becomes like everything, what I'm thinking and what my thoughts are and my feelings. It's like this whole world that we just live in. In fact, oftentimes, some people, we say, oh, he just lives in his mind. It's like he's just absorbed in the mental world that the person is in. Sometimes you can sort of like, if you draw a caricature of a person, you might just draw them with a great big head, because that's, they're so absorbed in their mental world that they've created. And so in this world, in this mental world that the self lives within, it has no knowledge of itself. In other words, the world of the mind. The mind is unaware of who the soul really is and who they are. Like the mind is, I don't want to give the impression that the mind's a living being, because it's not, but when the mind and the intelligence are so close to the soul, they appear to be alive, just like the body appears to be alive, so the mind appears to be alive. But it's actually the aliveness of the subtle body and the gross physical body is only due to the presence of the Atma, or the soul. So the first step for us to get out of this mental world is to develop, and it's a small world, is to develop theoretical knowledge. So this is the first step. We start hearing from our spiritual master or those great sages and saints. We hear from the scriptures and the yoga texts. We hear, oh, no, you're not the body. You're spiritual in essence. And so we may develop a theoretical understanding of this. We may have no realization of it, but we may be like, oh, okay, that's an interesting idea. I don't know how to apply it. I haven't actually realized it, but I can begin to intellectually or theoretically understand this. And then the second thing that goes with this then is the cultivation of a stoic tolerance. So like Krishna is describing in this verse, of being of learning how to tolerate them. Tamsta tikshasva Bharata. So learning to tolerate them, the impermanent appearance of these different fleeting experiences such as heat and cold and happiness and distress, just learning to tolerate them. So these are the beginning points, intellectual or theoretical understanding of who I am, and then developing tolerance for the fleeting and flickering nature of the mind and the mind's experiences. So just in a bigger sense, there's a saying, tolerance is a virtue, right? So everybody is encouraged to be tolerant. But this tolerance, it's like, you kind of got a choice. Are you just going to get upset about everything that happens? Some people are just so intolerant, can't tolerate anything. They just get bummed about everything. You shouldn't, screw you. And, you're driving down the road and somebody does something a little bit off, and, you start yelling at them, as opposed to just being tolerating it. Of course, in families, it's one of the great things about marriage is that it helps a person develop tolerance, right? Because you begin to realize, that the person you've married is a different individual, and they have little quirks, and sometimes they do things that can be a little bit irritating, and you have the choice to either get angry or upset, to have your mental equilibrium all bent out of shape, as the saying goes. He's all bent out of shape, or we can just learn to tolerate it, to be equal. Equanimity is sama, to be equal in the happiness and distress and not be disturbed by it, and just learn to tolerate the little irritating things that happen, right? So this is even from a material point of view, tolerance is seen as a virtue. Life is much easier for a person who has tolerance. For a person who's very intolerant, life is very difficult because there's so many things to be intolerant about. So tolerance is a very helpful quality to have. But so this is just based on a material or moralistic conception that tolerance is good. Yet this tolerance is so much greater when it's based upon the sacred texts or the yoga texts, or like Bhagavad Gita. If we can understand this concept that Krishna is teaching us in in these verses about the importance of tolerance. Essentially Krishna is saying to Arjuna, just learn to tolerate it. But in Arjuna's situation, it's so different than our own. Arjuna is he's absolutely devastated. He's about to engage in the horrific acts, absolutely horrific acts, of killing untold numbers of soldiers on the opposing side, including his dearest grandfather Bhishma Dev, and his military teacher Dronacharya, his cousin brothers headed by Duryodhana, and then various other family members and friends who we discussed as we read chapter 1. So Arjuna's going to have to kill them. So we get so intolerant if someone says, "Oh look, just tolerate having to wait 5 minutes," right? You go somewhere and it's well, is it? You're waiting. I don't know. You're waiting. You go down to a store and it's you order a made-to-order sandwich and it's not ready when you get there. You order it on the deli app. This an advertisement for Down to Earth here on our deli app, right? You can order the sandwich that you want. The burrito or the quesadilla or whatever it is. I always like the quesadilla. And you can order it on the Olo app, and then if you get there and it's not ready, and you typed in the app, I want to pick it up at 1:30 p.m. and you get there at 1:30 p.m. and it's not ready, and then you find out they haven't even started it. Oh my God! We get what? You get so intolerant. Make a complaint. Make a complaint. Fill in the tattle survey. Fill in a Yelp review. Service sucks here. So we get so intolerant, so upset. Actually, the other night I went into Down to Earth, and there's people standing around waiting for their sandwiches, and I got very intolerant. I'm like, what is going on here? Of course, that's my job, right? Get upset. What's going on, guys? Why isn't the service being done properly here? But this is nothing, right? We get so intolerant over the most minor inconveniences. But here Krishna is essentially telling Arjuna, hey, tolerate the fact that you're going to have to kill all these people, including your beloved relatives. So this is Krishna is saying how important tolerance is, right? He's not talking, he gives the example of, just learn to tolerate the temporary nature of happiness and distress, and they're just like the heat and cold and the winter and summer seasons, they're non-permanent, they just come and go, just learn to tolerate them. Arjuna, but in reality he's asking Arjuna to tolerate the unhappiness and distress that is going to come from killing all these people. So if we can take to heart the importance of what Krishna is teaching here, the importance of tolerance, of just tolerating or putting up with it. There's a saying, suck it up, So, but the actual, usually those kind of sayings is just suck it up, just be angry about it, but put up with it, So that's actually not what Krishna is saying here. It's Krishna is actually saying, have a realization that you are eternal and that you actually have nothing to do with this temporary material world. And whilst you're in this world, just appreciate that good things happen, bad things happen, winter comes, summer comes, it's hot, it's cold, and it's always temporary, passing. And just try to tolerate it. Just tolerate it. So this is such a a wonderful thing that Krishna is teaching us. And if we can take it to heart, maybe your marriage will be a lot better. that's the maybe I should apply it. Not maybe, I should definitely apply it. So anyway, so the point is like this is such a wonderful instruction that Krishna is giving. Just tolerate it. So, I mentioned maybe a week or so ago that we should never separate our spiritual life and from our daily activities. We shouldn't be thinking, I have my spiritual life, and then, I have my material life. No. As you go through life and you get into situations that are causing you distress, that are causing you unhappiness, or if you're experiencing unpleasant situations, that if you respond with tolerance, then actually you're engaged in the spiritual activity of applying Krishna's teachings to your life. And if you instead react in a very intolerant and impatient and angry way, well then you can know that you're going against the teachings of Krishna. And remember, these are like the basic building block teachings. Like this is only the 4th verse now where Krishna's been, since Arjuna has surrendered to Krishna and accepted him as his spiritual master and spiritual teacher, and said, I'm a soul surrendered unto you, and please, Nishitam, tell me confidently what is best for me. Nishitam, Bruhitam. And Shreyas, tell me what is most beneficial for me, definitely. Right, so this is only the 4th verse since then. So this is like right at the beginning, Krishna is stressing, be equal in happiness and distress. And then in 24 verses throughout Bhagavad Gita, Krishna stresses the same point, the same message. It's like, have you got it yet, guys? Arjuna, have you got it yet? And through Arjuna, everyone from all time, have you got it? Be tolerant. Tatiksha. So anyway, I'm kind of stressing the point, and actually it's quite an enlivening point. I hadn't really got it before, so just speaking about it helps one to get it, right? And hopefully you're all tolerating me being repetitive here, and this will be you applying Krishna's teachings in Bhagavad Gita, and we can apply Krishna's teachings to our life. And if we do so, then we shall become very happy. We shall taste the ananda, or the bliss of spiritual life. So thank you very much. We'll continue our discussion on this verse next week. We have some nice examples from the purport by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and then some comments from the Vaishnava Acharyas on these verses. And as I mentioned, I'm giving a class tomorrow night in Yoga Kirtan, Hawaii at 7 p.m. It's a soul journey, a self-discovery. And on Friday night in Healing Chant 108, I'll be giving actually the 5th class on where we've been talking about chapter 18, text 66, where Krishna says, just abandon all varieties of religion, just surrender unto me, Ma'amikam Saranam Braja, and that he will protect us from all sinful reactions, and don't worry. So in that class we'll be talking some more about from the Vaishnava commentaries on that particular verse. So anyway, so hopefully you'll join us. And if not, I'll just have to tolerate it. Okay. Thank you very much. Haribol. Krishna, Krishna. And I'll have to tolerate going to get Radhi Shyam to come and lead us in a nice kirtan. And that first kirtan she did was like really awesome. Okay, I'll just be a moment.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama,
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare Rama,
Rama
Rama Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Rama, Rama Rama
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Rama, Rama Rama
Hare Krishna
Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Rama Rama
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Rama, Thanks, everyone. See you tomorrow on Yoga Kirtan Hawaii.